What is going on here, Bills Mafia? Allow me a moment to put on something a little bit more appropriate. Welcome into the sit down, presented by Duff's Famous Wings, right here on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And of course, I'm your host, as always. If I can even, it looks like I'm not going to be able to get that on, guys. Whatever. It does not matter because it doesn't matter ever when you've got the Sauce God here to host your live coverage of the sit down right here on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually co-hosted by my guy, the president of Built in Buffalo, known as the Mafia Montage, and also the co-host of the Buffalo Blitz, who is actually currently going to take this week off due to illness. And Mafia Montage, we wish that you get better. And for those of you out there watching right now, do me a favor. Hit that like and share before you go anywhere else. And also join us here in the comments because, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, questions on Super Chat, comments on Super Chat, shout-outs, whatever it may be you want seen here in the sit-down, well, the easiest way to do so is send in a Super Chat on YouTube. So if you're watching on Twitter, that's the best way to kind of get involved here in the sit-down. But also, Facebook stars are appreciated too. So you can do that on Facebook, and that will get your comments seen as well, guys. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. I want to tell you we've got nothing but awesome coverage as we are going to head into Pittsburgh and take on the Steelers for week 2 of the preseason. And in this game, will we see some starters in action? Well, we have all that and much more. I have a special guest coming on with me, actually a host of another Built in Buffalo show. And I believe at this moment we are having technical difficulties with somebody getting backstage here at the moment. But guys, keep those comments flowing in. We're live here in the sit down again on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Let's kick off this introduction. Here for season 2, episode 5 of the sit down. And I'll tell you what, season 2 has been jam-packed, and we are now getting near that opening day of the NFL regular season, as well as the Bills opening day against the Jets for week 1 on September 11th for Monday Night Football in East Rutherford. But first, we've got to get through preseason, and that means we've got to find out who's going to make the 53-man roster. And there are a lot of guys that are making cases for it. But before we get into anything else, guys, we've got to start off with the usual Getting Saucy segment that we've started at the beginning. So let's get it going. And I love having too much depth, right? I like having the problem of how are you going to cut? Who are you going to have on the active roster? Who's going to be able to make the practice squad because they don't get scooped up by another team, right? This Buffalo Bills roster is loaded at the receiver position, which has got me absolutely excited about the position battle that's taking place for the slot receiver role in this offense. We've seen guys turning heads, but then you have the unexpected Andy Isabella coming out of nowhere, turning heads as well, making a case for himself to make the active roster for this 53-man squad. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, this Buffalo Bills roster is competing. This Buffalo Bills roster has too much competition going on right now for me to really believe that this team ain't ready to take on any action or any opponent in this upcoming season, as we are now in pursuit of that Lombardi trophy. So Bills Mafia, that's me with my usual segment of Getting Saucy. So now, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and welcome in my 2 guests this week, which actually it looks like we are able to clear up some technical difficulties. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that's got me excited. But now bringing in, I'm going to start off here with Izzy. Welcome in, Izzy. And Izzy is the current host of the Red Zone Report on Sundays. How are you doing this evening, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Feel good, look good, feel good, play good, prime time, baby.
You know what's funny, Izzy, is that specific part of, what is it, is it Bedazzled? I think it is, with, I forget what his name is, but my dad and I always say that part. We specifically always say, you come out, you look good, you play good, you feel good, you want to come out and give 110%. So if my father's out there watching, that wasn't planned. That was just all, by sheer chance. But Izzy, we're happy to have you here in the sit down. And I'll tell you what, Izzy's going to be taking care of you guys out there in the comments, so keep those flowing. We will see them as we see them. But Bills Mafia, like I said, it is Super Chat, Facebook stars. They're going to get that comment seen ASAP Rocky. But without further ado, now introducing the second guest and first time appearing on this show is Tee of the Not Your Average podcast in the 716. Tee, how in the hell are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? I hope you can hear me.
Yep, exactly. So T, being a first-time guest here in the sit-down, let's get to know you a little bit. Tell the folks out there that are watching a little bit about yourself and the content that you're currently doing for Built in Buffalo and where they can find you at.
Okay, well, I'm T, like you said. Not Your Average Podcast in the 716. Me and Mike, we do a live show on Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Building Buffalo Network on Facebook. I don't do too much of Twitter live. But yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and I also have another podcast, it's Tea Time with Robin. We also do a show on Thursdays at around 11 o'clock. And that's just me. Talk
Excellent
Bills
stuff.
content.
I've had a chance to actually meet both of these people at Barbell Tavern. I'm sorry, I met Izzy at Barbell, but I met Izzy at training camp at St. John Fisher. And I'll tell you what, these two are some of the most excellent show hosts that are out there. And if you guys haven't already checked out their shows, make sure to do so. Like they said, guys, Built in Buffalo's got great content. We're not only authentic and informative, but we are also very entertaining. And we've got a great group of people, a great group of people that I love to work with and get to see kind of grow in this industry that we all love. So Bills Mafia, keep it going here. We're live in the sit down on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is again presented by Duff's Famous Wings, hosted by myself, the Sauce Guy, joined here with special guests Izzy of the Red Zone Report and T of the Not Your Average Podcast. So let's start with T here. We've got a countdown that Montage and I have been doing, and that is to the NFL regular season's first game. That's the Chiefs and the Lions for Thursday night. It is now 21 days away. T, let me ask you something. In the offseason, what kind of gets you through it? Sports, any other content? What gets you through the offseason?
I try to just watch as much as football I can, and that's it. Like I watch basketball, I watch any type of sports just to get me through. But I was dabbling in the XFL. And the other one was a CS. What was
USFL.
Yes. I watched those just to get some football in because I just crave football. I love football so much. So, yeah, and hanging out with my kids. So
good stuff. So Izzy, how about? I know that you're a big UFC guy, right? But
yes,
what else?
Sir.
Tell the people what gets you through the off season.
So when this past year, I kind of started getting back into the NBA a little bit. Started getting into hockey just a little bit. Trying to get back into baseball just a little bit, just so I have other sports other than MMA and boxing. I love my boxing. Crawford and Spence just fought recently in boxing, and this coming weekend Bud Crawford beat the brakes off of him. And then this weekend we got a nice UFC fight, Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. It's gonna be real nice. So I got the Bills game at 6:30, and then I got the UFC at 10. Let's go.
Exactly. Good stuff. So, hey, we're getting closer and closer to the start of the regular season, and I'm excited. It doesn't matter if it's Bills football, it's regular season football, which makes it even more exciting for me to even just watch preseason action where you don't get to see some of these starters. However, us Bills and Mafia have a possible treat coming up because it sounds like there's a possibility that the starters are actually going to play. Now, T, I actually saw that you posted about this earlier. If you want to actually give the people a little bit of an update as to whether the starters are going to play.
T?
Did we lose T?
We lost our audio.
Oh, T's muted.
T,
okay.
No.
T.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
T, okay. Do you have an update as to whether the starters are going to play?
Yes. Quarter and a half that Sean McDermott said that the starters will play. I'm nervous about the quarter and a half, but yeah. Quarter and a half.
I think it's definitely necessary, though. These guys got to get a taste of the action. I think the one thing that you kind of start to see a little bit more in preseason is that you're getting hit from other guys that actually want to hit you. Your teammates are kind of out there just trying to get their practice reps in, but they don't want to injure anybody at the same time. And these are their brothers, right? But now you're getting actual competition, especially against guys that are hungry to actually make the active roster, which some of these guys don't have that shot, but they got to make use of every single rep. So preseason is definitely exciting. And that game actually for the Bills will be in Pittsburgh this weekend on the 19th at 6:30 p.m. And I'm probably going to be on CBS, I would imagine, for all you guys out there watching. Maybe it's NFL Network. I'm not too sure, but that's the update for that. So, guys, if you're out there watching, make sure to hit that like and share, keep the comments flowing, and let's get it moving. We're going to go into our first segment here of Bada Bing, Bada Boom, and I'll explain that to our guests here in just a brief moment.
army where you shoot them a mile away. You got to get them close like this. Bing! Bing!
Is the good things that we've seen in the world of sports this week, and that doesn't have to be just necessarily related to the Bills or the NFL. So it could be anything. Now, Izzy, I'm going to start off with you here. What do you got for us in the segment of Bada Bing, Bada Boom?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Bada Bing, Bada Boom. Look, the starters got to play. Right? They do got to play. They got to see some time. They got to see some action. And the Bada Boom part is, you said before this segment, right, that we're actually playing against guys that want to hit us. You go watch practice this week and tell me they didn't want to hit each other. All the fights that we've had going on, the Bills are ready for that action. They're ready to hit somebody else. They're ready to be out there and go and earn their job. So for me, I am excited about this game. My wife wanted to go to this game. I didn't because I thought that Josh Allen and them weren't going to play, but they are. So bada bing, bada boom, my wife was right.
Excellent stuff. I like that, Izzy. So, T, what do you got for us for the segment of Bada Bing, Bada Boom, the good that we see in the world of sports?
Oh, man, I don't want to be – oh, my gosh. Well, and I hate to bring up injuries, but there's a lot of Bada Bing going on with Miami and with the Jets. Like, there's a lot of injuries going on right now, and I don't want to jinx anyone, because I think the injury gods owe us because of what happened to us last year. So I'm not cursing anyone, but I'm just saying that they owe us. So if you want to pick on someone else, it's okay. Not saying that I want no one to get injured.
Thou shalt not tempt the Lord.
I like it. So good stuff. So for Bada Bing, Bada Boom, which is, of course, again, the good that we've seen in the world of sports, what I'm going to give you guys is a taste of something that's actually considered maybe a little negative, right? And it's not because of if I like the guy or not. It's because of the contract that he was given and all the guaranteed money that goes into it. But I've seen reports that Cleveland quarterback Deshaun Watson has had nothing but failure in 11 on 11s in practice against the Browns defense. And he has failed to complete multiple passes in a row. He's been throwing interceptions. And I just think it's funny because this guy got 5 years, $235 million guaranteed, right? Because at the end of the day, he wasn't interested in actually going to the Browns. The Browns were trying to actually pursue him, but he said they're not on my list of teams until all of a sudden they called him up and said, well, we'll give you a fully guaranteed contract. And all of a sudden that set the landscaping of the NFL to be completely out of whack and out of sorts. And that's why guys like Lamar Jackson had a tough time getting a contract. And that's why I don't like that. Because I want a guy like Lamar Jackson to have the opportunities, especially a guy that's won an MVP, that is the Baltimore Ravens offense, if you ask me, and yet can't get a contract. But a guy like Deshaun Watson, with everything that was going on with him legally, I won't comment on that. It just makes me say, like, what the hell with this guy? So for him to be unsuccessful over there in Cleveland has got me saying, bada bing, bada boom. So real fast, before we move on, Izzy, any other comments that you want to highlight real quick before we go into our next segment here?
No, we look pretty good in the comments right now.
Excellent.
Kind of slow at this moment. Guys, give us some comments.
So I'm live here. The Sauce God at Buffalo Sauce God across all my social media platforms. Joined here with Izzy of the Red Zone Report and T of the Not Your Average Podcast. And we are here in the Sit Down, which is live every Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, but is also available via audio podcast, wherever you get your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it may be. This is available also the next day after the airing of this show. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to our next segment here of Forget About It.
What's forget about it? If you disagree like a Lincoln is better than a Cadillac, forget about it.
So this is the opposite of bada bing, bada boom. It's forget about it, the ugly things that we've seen in the world of sports. And again, it doesn't need to just be Bills or NFL related. It could be anything in sports. So I'm going to start with T on this one because I went to Izzy on the last one. But T, what do you got for me this week? What's something that you've seen in the world of sports that just is purely ugly?
I'll say, okay. The Jets hard knock. I can't. I'm so over the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and the hype and all of that. This is why I can't wait for the season to start, because I'm not saying that they're not a good team. I'm just so tired of it being shoved down our throats. So that's mine.
Excellent. I like that.
Forget
That's got
about
you
it.
saying forget about it. And for me personally, I agree with this with T on this one because honestly, they have been shoving it down our throats on ESPN. They've been shoving it down everybody's throats with the sports books, and it's just constant. And they're saying, oh, they're the favorites of the AFC East. Like BS, dude. Because let me tell you something: the Bills have won how many years in a row, and the Jets have won how many years in a row? I don't care. You bring Aaron
And not
Rodgers
even
over there.
that. I'm fine with them maybe being that, right? Okay, fine. But I mean, I know you got to have a darling of the AFC East. I understand it. But I mean, it's just a constant flow of every time you turn a sports channel on, it's the Jets. It's the Jets. It's the Jets. It's just like, oh man.
Good stuff, T. I appreciate you very much. Izzy, what do you got for us? And forget about it.
You know, we talk about football a lot here, so I'm going back to the MMA world. There was this fight a month ago. All right, so I'm taking this longer than a week ago, but there was a fight. Dricus du Plessis fought Robert Whittaker for the #1 contender spot. Dricus du Plessis beat him. Izzy Adesanya jumps in the cage. Let's go, Izzy! Right? That fight was supposed to be set, and Dricus pulls out of the fight. And you know what? Now Izzy's fighting Sean Strickland, and it feels like the rug's been pulled out from under us because Dricus was doing so good. And it was supposed to be like an all-Africa fight. 2 African fighters, same weight class, 1 and 2 in the weight class, the champion, and now that's gone. And so, you know what? Forget about it. We'll see it later in the year.
Excellent stuff, Izzy. I like it. And then, I like the saltiness here for the segment of Forget About It, again, which is the ugly things that we've seen in the world of sports this week. So for this week's segment, I've been using them week after week, and I've been using them week after week. But what is with the damn Yankees? The damn Yankees have just fallen below 500 for the latest since I can't even tell you when. But holy shit, the Yankees are a disaster. You ask Aaron Boone, what's the no, this is the squad that we're going. Like, there's nothing good about the squad, Aaron. We're not hitting. We're not pitching. We're injured. We're not winning. So, I mean, what the hell are you talking about? And Aaron Boone, to me, I never exactly – okay, I can't say disliked signing him as the manager of the Yankees, but I never liked it. I thought, why bring a guy like that in? You want to bring a guy that's got tradition, or whether it's for the Yankees or for the MLB. They had Joe Torre, who was a great manager of, personalities and talent, and he was a great traditional guy in the game of Major League Baseball because even after he's done with the Yankees, he was actually, I think he still might be an executive with the MLB too. But then you bring in Joe Girardi, who played catcher for them. Great. You win a world title with them. Sure, they paid a lot of money to do so, but this Yankee squad, man, you get Carlos Rodon, you give Aaron Judge the contract. It's like, what happened to DJ LeMay who's hitting? What happened to – I just don't get it. And the Yankees just don't seem to want to do anything about it. And for us that are Yankee fans, we're not accustomed to that. We're accustomed to seeing the boss want to make sure that there's a team out there that's capable of winning the World Series at all costs. However, the Yankees definitely need to continue to develop the farm system because they have some good talent there. But, man, they should have unloaded some of that talent at the trade deadline. The Mets and the Mets are probably going to be better in 2 years because of it. They weren't winning. They realized, got to sell. So that's got me saying, forget about it. That's the ugly things that we've seen in the world of sports this week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live here in the sit down. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot of action ahead here. We've got our usual segments of victory formation, the pain trains, the unsung hero, weakest link. And even though he's not here, the Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week is going to make an appearance right here in the sit down presented by Dove's Famous Wings on the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So now we're going to go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and get into some of this preseason coverage for the Buffalo Bills taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. So we're going to move into our next segment here of the victory formation. NFL regular season, this segment is used to describe the offensive keys to the game or anything offensive related that we have to discuss heading into the action or post-action. But this week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about which offensive players do you hope to see get a chance to run with the first team and QB1, because we've seen a lot of competition existing at the skill players position of receiver, and of course with that slot receiver role wide open. But we also have we're going to break down the defense here in the next segment after this. So first, I want to start with Izzy on this one. Now, which offensive players do you hope to get a chance with the first team reps and quarterback one, Josh Allen, and exactly why is that?
So I think that this one is one that everybody wants to see now. It's been happening since he got here, and that's Andy Isabella. Andy Isabella, last preseason game, 3 catches, 42 yards, led the team in catches and receiving yards. He had that nice 30-yard catch with a lot of yards after the catch on it. Andy Isabella came to this team, his former second-round pick. And a lot of people say, he only has so many catches, with the last 2 teams he was on over the past few years. And it's like, if you ask me, and people might not like this take, it was the Arizona Cardinals where they were loaded at receiver, right? They had freaking Hopkins. They had Larry Fitzgerald. Like, where was Isabella going to get his target share? Yeah, and then they brought Ertz in. Like, where's he going to get his target share? I have no idea where he's getting the target share there. Not only that, then he goes to Baltimore, and you guys know exactly what I think about Lamar Jackson if you read our threads. Yes. I'm not impressed. He averages 2,750 yards a year, and the last 2 years he's been hurt. 5 games this year, 5 games the year before, and 6 games this year if you count the playoff game. So Huntley was who was playing with. To me, that's not really a fair shake in the NFL. He gets to Buffalo. He's got his head in the playbook, like Josh Allen said. He's playing well. He's running good routes. He's catching the ball. I have no drops on him yet. Andy Isabella is doing everything he can possibly do to try and show that he deserves to make this team. And I think that he is eventually going to open up a spot for him if he has a kick-ass game this week, if he gets to run with the ones. And I would love to see him run with the ones. I would love to see him get some slot reps with Josh because he has potential. Sean McDermott loved him coming out of the Senior Bowl, and he's fast as hell. He ran a 4.31.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to see that when he ran the 40-yard dash, but he did it. He's bigger than Deontay Hardy, and again, hasn't dropped any passes yet. So that work right there that he's putting in, to me, shows that he wants to be here. Plus, he said, I'm tired of losing. Sign me up to see him with the ones this week.
I like that, Izzy, especially because I agree. And I just had a conversation with my best friend, Timmy, who actually is a Ravens fan. And, he said, but he didn't do nothing. I said, but he came in during the season. You don't just come in and all of a sudden go for a 200-yard game or anything like that. No, you have to first off figure out how to run in the offense. Then the second off, you have to find your way onto the field. And then third off, you have to find a way to get the ball while you're on the field because you're not even a primary target, right? But Andy Isabella, I felt never got a chance anywhere that he was. I felt that he showed nothing but great athleticism, which is something you can't coach, but he's also very intelligent and well-spoken, and that's something that speaks to the culture that we have here in Buffalo and why I think that he would fit in very well, too. So I like your answer there, Izzy. And also, I want to highlight for some people, Wes Welker played for the Dolphins before he played for the Patriots. And I'm going to tell you, Andy Isabella reminds me of a little bit of a maybe less tough version of Wes Welker, the way that he cuts, the way that he gets open, and the way that he can get yards after the catch, too, and that quickness is just something that it could be really valuable for this offense. So, T, let's go to you next. Which offensive players do you hope to see get a chance to run with the first team and QB1?
I want to see Sherfield. There was so much hype about Sherfield coming in here and playing with Josh and being that bigger, wide receiver. He can block well. And, I mean, when he played with Miami, Tyreek Hill was not too happy that they let him go. So if you got your number one wide receiver, co-signing like you're the man and upset that they let you go, I want to see what this guy can do. I know he's more of an outside guy, right? So
no, he's both.
He's both. Okay, he's both, which is even better. I mean, he might be behind Gabe, but I want to see what this guy can do with Gabe. I want to see if this guy is all the hype,
I like that. Sherfield actually would potentially be like one of my answers there. But Izzy, what do you got, buddy?
So the thing with Sherfield is that so far in camp, he's shined everywhere he's been, right? He's going to make this team. There's no chance he's getting released. And he is most likely, in my opinion, the primary outside relief for Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So if one of those two guys comes off the field with, God forbid, an injury, or they're just tired, need a break, or it's a run play and you just need to make sure that you get these yards, he's going on the field. He's going to see a ton of time on the field, in my opinion, and he'll probably even see some slot reps, especially on rundowns.
But do you remember when Sean McDermott first came, he had nothing but he called them the Smurfs. Now he has a variety of different wide receivers, big ones, bulky dudes. Like we needed that. We didn't have a big wide receiver until we got Gabe, actually, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
I'm
I
excited.
appreciate that comment from my boy 12 Gauge saying, Saucy, what up, boys and ladies and gentlemen? We're live here in the sit down on the Built Above Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is again presented by Dove's Famous Wings. You're live here with Sauce God and Izzy and T. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are right now in the segment of victory formation, which offensive players we hope to see running with the first team. Now, I got two guys right here that I'm thinking of immediately. And that's number one, Khalil Shakir. And that's not because I don't think that he can't, that necessarily needs to prove it to me, but I want a chance for him to actually run with the guys that are on the first team, see how he fits into the offense, see how he does when he does get his targets sent to him, because I think he is going to find himself very open. And I want to see if he's going to make use of that, because I've been a big advocate for this kid ever since we got him last year. I still am. I don't care if he's had drops. I think that all doesn't matter in the preseason. I think when it comes time, I just want to see how he does, especially with that role and that level of responsibility. Now, the second guy that I'm looking at is Dalton Kincaid, because, we didn't get to see anything out of him in the first game. We didn't get to see any targets his way, which I expected. I did not expect him to go his way, just because I think that everybody in the world expected him to be heavily targeted. They want to see what they get out of their first round tight end, right? No, it's like, let's just put him out on the field a little bit. Let's not do that until we actually got the other guys that are out there to run with him. I think that's a great way to ease a rookie into this, especially with what our expectations are of him and this offense and what he needs to kind of come in and do. So I think for Dalton Kincaid to get some of those reps this week, maybe get some targets, it's going to be great to see exactly what he's going to do for this offense, how he's going to fit into, because we've all talked about the possibility of him getting some reps at the slot receiver role in this offense as well. So it really, again, is a matter of, I want to see how we're going to distribute the football, how we're going to run it, how we're going to distribute it amongst our receivers, tight ends. And I think that two guys that need to find their way into this offense with the little nooks and crannies and their reps and make use of them is Khalil Shakir, especially with the competition heating up with Andy Isabella, Hardy, and it doesn't matter. I'm just excited for this kid to actually kind of come in and really get a chance to play with Josh in the first team reps, and as well as Dalton Kincaid. So, Izzy, let's go into the comments section real fast and take a look at any comments you want to highlight before we move on into our next segment.
So, John Roberts says Damian Harris, if his knee holds, is better, but I don't see that happening this week. Maybe next week you may see some Damian Harris, because we're going to see plenty of James Cook, and we're going to see plenty of Murray. We'll see Mims. We'll see some guys out there, but I don't think we'll see Harris this week. Then Dalton Kincaid is Travis Kelce's brother from another mother. We'll see. I don't like comparing to him exactly, because that's currently the best tight end in history, if you ask me. But if you pull Kincaid's size and compare that to another great NFL tight end, Antonio Gates comes to mind for me, with the speed, the basketball background, the height, the weight, all that stuff. Physically speaking, he matches more for me as Antonio Gates, which would be amazing still. And then there we go. I want to see what that kid can do. Saw him be a beast in a few games for Utah. I watched. So yeah, everybody's excited about Kincaid as well. So I agree with these guys. Kincaid's gonna be an animal, but I'd look at him more as a Antonio Gates than a Travis Kelce.
Amen to that. I like that comment. So if you guys are just now tuning in, please do me a favor, hit that like and share. You're here in the sit down and the Built in Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And Built in Buffalo is in partnership with Western, Ticket IQ, Picasso Sports, Picasso's Pizza, PLP Sports, and Underdog Fantasy. And of course, this is presented by Dove's Famous Wings every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's keep it moving. Bills Mafia. We are breaking down some of this action as the Bills get ready to face off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love that Josh's Jack's box, by the way. We're going to move on to our next segment here of the Pain Train. So guys, get ready, because you're going to hear a little bit of train noise.
Love
it
it.
is third down, Bills Mafia. Every time I hear that, I get absolutely hyped up. So does Mafia Montage. So this week, instead of the defensive keys to the game, which we normally see for this segment, we're going to talk about the competition that is existing right now at the middle linebacker spot with Spector and Bernard currently out, and AJ Klein turning some heads as well this week in practice. And we also have to take a look at that cornerback 2 spot with Kaiir Elam and Benford kind of really heated up competition and kind of having an even game in the last preseason matchup. So maybe this week we're going to see somebody kind of take an edge in that competition. So, T, what do you think about the competition for the middle linebacker spot right now? And what do you anticipate? Who do you anticipate to maybe be the middle linebacker 1 come week 1?
Well, I have some words that Sean said, right? Needs improvement. I was not impressed with the middle linebacker play or the linebacker play besides Matt Milano in preseason game 1. Was not impressed. I thought, well, I'll say this. I was impressed by Williams because he played fast and free, but I was not impressed by Dotson. I just thought he was overwhelmed. He pressed a little bit. I thought he was out of he was just he was just playing too aggressive for me, and then he was out of position. So I mean, concerned. Sean McDermott said he was concerned at this position, and as a fan, I am too. I know a lot of people did not like Tremaine Edmonds, but now we don't have him. Excuse me. Now we don't have him, and now we're going into the season not knowing who's going to play middle linebacker, what's going on with the linebacker position. So I'm kind of frustrated, to be quite honest with you, because I was underwhelmed with what I seen out there in preseason.
Yeah, I
And
definitely.
I know it's the first preseason game.
I mean, I think that this is going to definitely be a week where we have to see that, position elevated quite a bit. And, AJ Klein obviously is a veteran and he's been with the squad before and he's had some decent weeks of football, but then there's obviously some moments of inconsistencies. And that's why he's fallen to free agency to become a Buffalo Bill again this season. But before we get to cornerback 2, Izzy, what do you think about the middle linebacker 1 position competition that exists so far? And who do you anticipate being the starter one?
Personally, I think that AJ Klein is the better option. He knows the defense. He's played in it before in Carolina here in Buffalo. AJ Klein knows the reads. He knows exactly where to put everybody else, even though he may be a liability himself in his position because he's old and physically not as able as he used to be. He can get everybody else in their spots. I'm not sure Dotson can do that. This past preseason game, as T said, she wasn't impressed, and neither was I. He looked like he was thinking too much out there. That's the type of spot where you have to read, react, and go. There should be no thought involved. And she said Tremaine, people had their problems with Tremaine, and I was one of those people. I still am one of those people. I don't think he's very good against the run, but against the pass, he's good. Dotson is about as good as Tremaine against the run, and he's nowhere near as good against the pass. So if he was the option that they were bringing in, thinking that they were going to replace Tremaine, they were sorely mistaken. And I think that they really need to really expedite Williams into the competition at middle linebacker, so that hopefully in the middle of the season he can take over from Klein and or Dotson. Don't sit here and hold him back from the reps. Get him reps, even with the third team. Get him out there. Right. That kid can run. He can play. Yes. He can guard. He was guarding running backs and tight ends deep down the field, like in the middle of the field and along the sideline. Dorian Williams has the potential, if he can get this defense down mentally. The physical ability is there. He's already showed me that. He already knows how to read what a player's doing and how to, as they say, get into their back pocket and ride with them down the field. He's fast.
And he can shed blocks.
Yeah, he's fast. He's fit. He sheds blocks. He didn't miss a tackle.
Right.
Did not miss a single tackle. And he made all the tackles by himself except one. I think that they really need to stick him into that room with the middle linebackers and say, you know what? When you're ready, we'll know. Like they did Matt Milano when he got drafted and Ramon Humber was the starter, and eventually Josh took over or Milano took over. They need to do the same thing with Dorian Williams, but at middle linebacker, because he may be suited to be a Milano replacement, but that kid can flat out play. And there were times on the field where he was behind the freaking defensive line and Tyrell Dotson was off to the side. And to me, that says middle linebacker all day. And there are
Yeah,
times
like
where
that.
Matt Milano ends up in the center too. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the calls of the offense, the opposing offense, but there are plenty of times where I freaking heard 58's the mic. 58's the mic.
Mhm.
Identifying Matt Milano as the middle linebacker on said play. Our linebackers are interchangeable, basically. What we need is somebody who can call the defense and inform the rest of the team behind them what's going on. Now,
Right.
Tremaine did it most of the time, but the fact of the matter remains that he's gone, and we have another young guy who looks poised to make a name for himself on his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
like
that they need to kick the tires on that because Dodson doesn't seem to be it, and Klein's too old. So give Klein his time at the beginning of the season, but eventually those wheels are going to fall off, and you're going to have to rely on somebody else. And I think that Dorian Williams, if you start training him up now, he can figure it out by week 5, week 6.
Do
Excellent
you think
stuff.
that was the frustration, though? And not to cut you off, Sauce. Do you
Mhm.
think that was the frustration from these practices? Why everything got heated with Dotson because
could be.
of
He's
Okay.
fighting for a spot. He's fighting for a spot. He wants that job. The guy he sat behind for 5 years is now gone. He's got a chance to win it, and he's failing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I like him as a backup. As a backup, he's fine. If someone gets injured and you need 2 games out of him, we've seen him play decent for a couple of games.
Mhm.
We're talking about starting middle linebacker, like
Right.
on a championship caliber team.
I can see they trading for somebody. I can see them picking somebody up. I don't see us going into the season with him as the middle linebacker. I mean, that's just me. I could be totally wrong.
We both
No,
could, but I hope not.
I definitely could see the points that both of you have made. And if you guys are just now tuning in, do me a favor, hit that like and share. We're in the segment of pain trains here in the sit down. But for the middle linebacker spot right now, I got no edge for anybody because of the levels of inconsistencies that we have seen. I mean, there are even signs last preseason of Balen Spector, playing pretty well, but then he just does the opposite right after, right? So we don't have a guy that can kind of come out there and command it, obviously. I do think that Dorian Williams is kind of right now the guy that's going to make a little bit more noise because he's a rookie. He's young. He's got a lot of athleticism. He could fly out there. He's very similar. He's like a smaller version of Tremaine Edmonds to me because Tremaine Edmonds was a big, bulky dude, right? But very, very fast and athletic. So, and also, too, you're filling in the gap of who was calling the defensive plays out there. You had Tremaine Edmonds that was doing that in most, I'm pretty sure the years that all the years that he's with the Buffalo Bills, he was calling the defense. So let's take a couple of the comments real fast before we get into the cornerback 2 discussion. Izzy, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so there's a lot of comments here between Sarah, Patrick, and they're talking about Taylor Rapp, us being in dime quite a bit, which is very possible because Taylor Rapp's a bigger than you think safety.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's faster
Prototype.
than he's faster than what he rated. He's a good box safety. He's a good safety overall, but in the box, doesn't miss a lot of tackles. He's always been there. He started on a Super Bowl championship team. They won a Super Bowl against the Bengals high-flying offense and held them to 17 or 20. It was 24-20 or 2017, something like that.
Something, yeah.
Taylor Rapp is a good player, but I don't know if you do that, then Matt Milano's shifting to Mike, and you don't want to necessarily move your all-pro middle weak side linebacker to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he did play a bunch of Mike last year with Tremaine, even on the field. They switched roles a bunch of times. They played different styles. It really depends, but the injuries to Thoreau Bernard and Balen Spector really throw a wrench in this because there are no options other than AJ Klein, who's old, and Tyrell Dodson, who to me is I think it's more mental than actually him just not being good enough. I think he's mentally collapsing on this because last year he played so much better in those couple of games he had to start because of Tremaine's injuries than he is right now in preseason. And that doesn't make any sense to me because it was a regular season and he looked better than he does now. I think it's mental right now.
Yeah.
He's
Maybe it's the pressure. It could be the pressure of, the expectations.
The shoes that you got to fill, It could be that too. That's a good point there, T. I like that. But let's head into the next discussion here of the cornerback 2 spot because right now that's also a topic of competition because I think in the first preseason game that Benford and Kai Erlam had basically the same level of game. You can't really grade one as better than the other. I think that they both had one holding penalty or pass interference, whatever it may be. But I think I want to really get we'll start off with T for this one as well. But who do you think is going to take the edge for the cornerback 2 spot?
I I think the competition is just for them. It's just too tight. I don't see anyone in the like showing anything or breaking away from the pack. I put all of them. I put Dane Jackson there, and the only reason why I'll probably give him a lead over it is because Dane Jackson knows the system. But to be quite honest, I just think they're all in the same bunch, and maybe Dane got the edge because the interception, and Kyer and Benford, excuse me, didn't because they got two penalties. Offense. What was it? Oh my God, holding on each. So
Yep.
I put all of them in the same bunch. To be quite honest, I need Kyer because Kyer is more physically gifted to do it. I think he just thinks too entirely much. It's
Right.
maybe it's the Tremaine Edmonds effect. I don't know. You're just overthinking. Just play. And it's easy for me to say that. I'm a
I
fan.
think to make a point to that, T, I think sometimes even I forget that Kyer Elam was asked to basically be cornerback 1 last year with Tre'Davious White being unable to play for the first however many weeks of the season, and that's asking a lot out of a first round rookie, especially with the receivers he's got to go against, guys like Jalen Waddle
Right.
and Tyreek Hill, and we had a lot of injuries in the secondary last year that I think put a lot of pressure on Kyer Elam, but I think ultimately I do see good things out of him, and I definitely see why we drafted him in the first round, and I do see the light that exists there. So I'll get to my point here in a minute, but let's go to Izzy next here with this. Who do you think is going to take the edge for the cornerback 2 position?
So currently, I agree with T, and I think it's going to be Dane Jackson who has the edge currently. But I think that if he can get himself right, Kyer Elam can take that spot. I think that Kyer can get himself right. He has the physical ability to really run away with this thing, but he's not doing it. And he might be in his own head too, because psychologically he's been given this whole thing where you're a first-round pick, but right now you got a 6th and a 7th round pick holding the job in front of you. And that's tough because you're supposed to be better than those guys, but you're in a defensive scheme that doesn't fit what you did in college. So now you're having to change yourself up, and you had a year to do it, and you're still struggling a little bit. So I think that Kyer Elam should get the nod, but as of right now, it is Dane Jackson.
Yeah, excellent. I like that. Good point there, Izzy. I think for me, I do see that Dane Jackson's got that edge right now. He's been in the system, sure, and I think the interception mostly is because Anthony Richardson threw it right to him, but nonetheless, he still did haul it in.
Right.
I think Dane Jackson is probably a safe choice to take here, but I'm still going to say Kyer Elam is going to edge by week 1 of the regular season, and I say that because I think when he's out there with Tre'Davious White, you're going to find that his game is going to kind of mesh well with his. And especially when you've got your all-pro safeties back there truly backing you up, it makes the world of football much easier for a defensive back. And when you've got your actual pass rush out there too, you could be a subpar defensive back and still do a really great job on the defense if you have a great pass rush. If the quarterback can't throw the football or he's rushed and he's just hurried up, well, that makes the world easier. But when your quarterback has 5 to 10 seconds to throw the football, eventually a guy like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle is going to break free. You can't ask a guy to hold on for that long. So I think Kyer Elam is definitely, in my opinion, he's still got his inconsistencies, but he is still in year 2. And I still think that when he plays with Tre'Davious White, that's going to only help his game out as well. So Sarah comes in with this comment saying, I feel bad. I don't know the host names yet. I'm Anthony, the Sauce God Bamasudo at Buffalo Sauce God across all the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. I'm joined here with Izzy of the Red Zone Report live on the Built Above Network's Facebook, YouTube as well on Sundays, and live here with T, first-time guest in the sit-down, but the host of the Not Your Average podcast in the 716 and much more. Make sure to check them both out, guys. So let's keep moving here, ladies and gentlemen. We are live here in the sit-down, presented by Duff's Famous Wings every Thursday night, and this is right here on the Built Above Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're going to move on into our next segment here of the Unsung Hero. So the unsung hero is the which player has impressed us the most in training camp and preseason that we least expected to do so. Now, normally this is a segment that we talk about who made some plays that were critical, that were kind of under the radar, but helped lead to a victory. But this week it's going to be a little bit different. So, Izzy, let's start with you here on this one. Which player has impressed you the most in training camp and preseason that you least expected?
Which young player, right?
Could be any player.
Any player. Okay. So the one that I least expected, that's tough. Because this roster is so deep that, you kind of expect all of them to be pretty good. So I go back to, I think it was one of our first two questions, and that's Andy Isabella. I expected him to get here and not do anything. But he proved me wrong. He went to Baltimore. He didn't do anything. That was in my mind. He went to Arizona. He was drafted by Arizona. Didn't do anything. And then he started doing stuff here. And I was like, this isn't what I saw from him before he got here. Why is this the case? And then I dug deeper like I tend to do because I overthink everything. And I saw, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. Got here late in the season behind a bunch of other receivers and tight ends. Didn't have opportunities where he went. Now he's here in training camp and has the opportunity to really shine within the offense. I didn't expect him to make any noise, let alone have us talking about, do we keep 7 receivers? Is Shorter going to the practice squad instead of Isabella? Like, I expected none of that. Like, when I see a comment that says Murray and Sherfield. I expected Murray to make the team because Harris gets hurt too much. And I expected Sherfield to make the team because he beat Cedric Wilson out for the number 3 spot in Miami. So why wouldn't he do something similar to that here? I had confidence in both those players coming here. But Andy Isabella, I expected not a damn thing from. And he has shown me otherwise. So that's who I'm going with.
Excellent stuff. What about you, T? Which players impressed you the most in training camp and preseason that you least expected?
Tim Settle. I kind of figured Tim Settle was just who he was last year, and I was kind of upset when Tim Settle came from Washington. I just thought he was just going to dig in and just take over, because he was behind 2 guys, and I felt that he wanted to show that he was the guy. This season or this preseason, this training camp, Tim Settle lost, I want to say 15 to 16 pounds and dug in, ready to go. He came to training camp and was showing that he was all that he was supposed to be last year. So Tim Settle is my guy. Like, I root for him. I'm a kind of a Washington back then Redskins fan because of my father. So I keep my eye on that team, and I wanted Tim Settle here. And, I'm glad that he had some plays in preseason last preseason. I was excited for the first game for him.
I like that. Settle is a good one, says Sarah. And I appreciate all the comments so far here in the sit down. Keep them flowing, Bills Mafia. Don't forget that Super Chat and Facebook Stars are heavily prioritized. So if you got a shout out or question for either of my special guests or me, make sure to send it in with those options and you'll get it seen right away. But for me, which players impressed me the most? And Izzy said, that this is a guy that he expected. But for me, it's Sherfield. And that's only because I didn't know what to expect out of him. I didn't know if he would mesh well with the guys that we already have. But yes, he has turned some heads, and he definitely has an undeniable connection with Josh Allen on the football field. So I think Sherfield came in and definitely made this competition for the other guys below him a little bit tougher, right? And that's, I expected him to make the team, sure, but I didn't expect him to kind of really mesh in with this offense the way that he has. And he can make a great wide receiver 3, or like Izzy said earlier, can be a great relief to Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis. And I think that right there, man, if you can keep somebody out on that football field that gives you something similar to either of those 2 guys, it makes your offense that much more dangerous. And if you're capable of being dangerous, you're capable of winning a football game, right? At any freaking moment. So we're live here in the sit down again, ladies and gentlemen. This is presented by Duff's Famous Wings, hosted by myself, Sauce God, at Buffalo Sauce God, joined here with T and Izzy. And we are discussing right now the unsung hero, but we're going to move on into our segment. And we also have the Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week ahead. But before we do anything else, guys, like and share. Keep the comments flowing. After we do the segment, I'm going to let my guests get out of here. But we still have another couple of segments after that, so don't go anywhere, guys. Now, let's move on into our next segment of The Weakest Link, which this video always puts a smile on my face. Mac Jones. Just gotta say that. I'd like to bleep out the F word, except if it's that, but getting trucked by Chandler Jones. You got Patrick Starr out there with the
That
piece of wood
shit
on his
never
forehead.
gets old.
That right
I love
there
it.
will never get old, as Izzy said. So this week for the weakest link, which is normally what player was detrimental to our team or the other team, this is going to be a player that we expected to make the team, but not so much now. I'm going to go ahead and start this one off first before we get our guest's final take on a subject here. But for me, the player that I said that I thought was going to make this team, but not so much now, and it's already proven that he's not going to make the team now, is offensive tackle Brandon Shell, who abruptly retired. Thank God it wasn't during a game like some people that played defensive back. You guys know what I'm talking about. But Brandon Shell retired from the game of football. I thought that he was definitely going to come in and maybe command that right tackle starting position, but we've seen Spencer Brown playing pretty solid at that role. So Brandon Shell retired. He will not be playing football anymore, and he will not be playing for the Buffalo Bills. So I expected him to make the team and expected him to actually get some reps out there and maybe start, but not so much now. But let's go ahead. T, let's start with you on this one. Who was a player that you expected to make the team, but you're not so sure about now?
I came into this season and I just knew Shakir was going to be on this team. I just knew 100% that he's going to make the squad. But with everything, with Andy Isabella just showing up, and the thing about it is with Shakir is that Shakir makes these crazy catches, but he can't make a simple, what was it, outright? I just don't understand. Yeah, it was a simple catch. Like, you're right there. He couldn't. It's just the trust factor, I guess. The quarterback and wide receivers. So he's the guy that I think is on the bubble now. I do.
Excellent. I got a question, PT. Who were your receivers making the team before the preseason?
Before the preseason, it was going to be shorter. Well, Diggs. Diggs, Davis, Sherfield. Are we putting tight ends in there or no?
Just my receiver.
Jesus, who do we have?
I'm guessing it's Diggs, Davis,
Hardy,
Shakir, and Shorter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so your six were the same as mine. Diggs, Davis, Shakir, Shorter, Hardy, and Sherfield.
Yep.
Okay, so if I was to revise your list, my guys would still be Diggs, Davis, Sherfield, Hardy, Shakir, and Shorter. To me is the guy who doesn't get there because he didn't make any catches. He didn't get open. He did nothing for me. So to me, he's the guy who gets cut and makes the practice squad, and you bring Isabella on if you're going to keep six guys, and if you're going to keep Isabella,
okay. Right? I got you.
To me, Shakir showed some inconsistency with his hands, but so did Dawson Knox until his third year.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
He's still on a rookie contract too. That makes it even more unlikely for me that he would get cut.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, Shorter is too. So you got Shorter and Shakir both in the same boat, both fifth-round picks. So to me, those two guys are an even playing field, other than the fact that Shakir's been here for a year longer. But Shorter's shown me nothing, while Shakir has shown me something. So to me,
did Shorter play the whole preseason? What did he play? Do you know?
He played with the first team that Kyle Allen played for. So the twos basically.
Okay. Gotcha.
And he played a bunch of plays, but he didn't get open.
Yeah, he did.
Excellent.
Right.
And to me, that's big because at least Shakir's going to get open, and he's going to give you a shot to catch the ball. I can't say the same for Shorter.
So, Izzy, is that your answer? Is Shorter?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent stuff. Well, yeah, excellent, guys. I appreciate you guys' answers, and I want to say real fast a quick thank you to both my special guests, Tee and Izzy. And, I'm happy to have you here in the sit-down, of course. And, I would love to have you both be back. And I've been an actual guest on Izzy's show, and I'd like to maybe sometime make an appearance on the Not Your Average podcast. So real fast, Let's start with T. T, we're going to let you say goodbye to some people and also, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this. Izzy's been on my show. I definitely have to have you on. It's fun to do, and it's fun to connect with you guys. I love it. And again, Not Your Average Podcast in the 716. I am on Twitter, TSL, Instagram, same thing, TSL, Not Your Average Podcast on every social media platform. Yeah, check me out. We we talk about sports, our Bills, of course, and it's like lighthearted. We joke, we have a good time, and I may drink a beer.
Excellent. Well, T, I love watching your show, and I
Beer.
love every bit of content that you do. And I, of course, love that I was able to chop it up with you at the training camp.
Absolutely.
You guys, make sure to check out T, of course, right here on the Built to Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and much more. And I want to say, let's go to Izzy next here. Izzy, thank you for coming on today, brother. We're going to get you a little moment here where you can, give some shout outs where the people can find you. So let's get it going, brother.
So you can find me every Sunday on the Red Zone Report, 7 p.m. until the regular season. Then I'll be doing post-game shows. But other than that, you can find me on any of these guys' shows if somebody falls out and they need somebody to help, because I'm just that battle buddy. It is what it is. I've been on T's show. I've been on this show. I was on the Blitz this week. This is my third show this week on Built in Buffalo. And frankly, I'm not tired. So whoever needs me, come get me. I mean, I love all of my guys here on Built in Buffalo. Peter, Shoot, T, Sauce God, Montage, Dave, Akeem, everybody. I love all of you guys. And those are just most of the guys who are mostly in the comments. And I'm talking about like our group chat, like Witty. All you guys are awesome. And T and I have a special kind of thing where we talk about football in like direct comment or direct.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
So if she's got questions or if I've got something to throw her way and say, hey, what do you think about this? We'll bounce those off each other. So that's pretty cool. T, are you in Rochester or Buffalo?
I'm in Buffalo.
Buffalo. I missed you this past.
I know. I was on vacation. I was so mad because I seen you guys, and I'm jealous. I'm looking like I wanted to be with the guys. It looked so fun.
You definitely did. Yeah.
I was trying to see T, and I was like, I got Lance, I got Sauce God, I got Shoop, I was like, even Peter came from Long Island, so I was like, dang.
I know.
But now I know that you're on vacation, so it just didn't line up for you. But next time I'm up there, I really need you to come out because I want some more of those Cajun honey butter barbecue wings because them things were
Barbill, man. I'm going to Big Treat right after I get done with this show.
It's not Barbill.
Oh my God.
I want to thank my special guests, T and Izzy, again, Built in Buffalo show hosts, and make sure to check them out, guys. And again, thank you to both of you. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on into our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, of the Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week, paying homage to our co-host of the Mafia Montage himself, the president of Built in Buffalo, and the co-host of the Buffalo Blitz on Tuesday nights with Peter DiBiase for the Built in Buffalo Network. So, guys, let's keep it going. Like and share if you haven't already done so. We're live here in the sit down, like I said, every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and available via audio podcast. If you're not able to catch this live, you can get it wherever you get your audio podcast from. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Built in Buffalo is in partnership with Western, Ticket IQ, PLB Sports, Picasso's Pizza, Underdog Fantasy, and Duff's, the proud partner of the sit down. So let's get it going, guys, with the Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week. All right, so this week's Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week is going to be somebody that I know Mafia Montage absolutely supports and loves seeing have a great game in preseason week 1 against the Colts. It's going to be DeMar Hamlin. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man made it back to the football field, sees his first actual competition against another opponent since the cardiac arrest against the Cincinnati Bengals, comes out, no hesitance, plays with faith, and he makes some valuable plays to his team, and he looked really good out there. He looked better than he did last season, and I think that DeMar Hamlin is really showing me exactly why it's an incredible story and why I really am rooting for this kid so damn much, and that's why he's going to be this week's Mafia Montage Maniac of the Week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, next week's show, we will take a look at our final preseason game against the Chicago Bears that will be in Chicago, and don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not already doing so, make sure to follow us, like us, and subscribe and turn the notifications on so you don't miss any of the live content, live updates, or any of the podcasts or content that comes from Built in Buffalo, your source for Bills news, media, entertainment, all that and much more. And also of this sit down, which is presented again, ladies and gentlemen, by Duff's Famous Wings, hosted by myself, the Sauce God, at Buffalo Sauce God across all social media platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, get with me out, and you can get with me on Thursday nights. And as always, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next Thursday right here in the sit down on the Built to Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. God bless, and go Bills. We'll see you next Thursday.